All right, Phil, welcome back. Always a great time to meet with you. You had a big move lately. Tell us a little bit about that. I guess it's been a couple months that you've been settled in, but how's
Yeah,
that
two big
gone?
moves actually,
Yeah.
Jason. So
Ah,
one move was we moved from Orlando, Florida to Westchester, Ohio.
yeah,
So that's a pretty big
that's a
move.
big
Moved
move.
3 dogs and 2 kids and 2 adults. We moved to Ohio. So that's pretty exciting. I love it here. People are nice.
Hmm.
Weather is cooler. That's really fun. And then work-wise, I moved from mostly my own self and Bamboo HR to now I am mostly with SpeakerFlow, which is really
Okay.
fun too.
Okay. Tell us a bit about speaker flow because I don't know nothing about it.
Sure, bud. So SpeakerFlow is for thought leaders, right? For
Okay.
speakers, trainers, coaches, consultants, all of that. Think of it as an operating system for your speaking thought leadership business. So
Hmm.
whether it is email marketing or social media marketing or a CRM or whatever, we put the system in place and then train you how to use it so that you can spend more time in a flow state, right? Doing what you
Okay.
love, doing what you're really meant to do, what's in your zone of genius. So that's all about speaker flow.
Okay. That sounds really important, and I'm going to have to find out more about it as we go. Folks, what I wanted to do with this was just have two guys talking and see how you like this sort of format. It's a different, less formalized process than usual. But Tim Anderson started it with me, and I thought I'd continue it with Phil here because I could trust Phil to roll with the punches. So,
Absolutely.
yeah. So we talk about flow state, and I know how incredibly important that is. When I was running an agency with Jeremy Pope, one Saturday morning, I was looking for ways to increase our operational tempo because Jeremy runs at 100 miles an hour and I'm at about 20 in comparison, right? And I don't think I'm super slow, but he's just that fast, right? So I'm trying to keep up. And one of the things I ran across, this is back in like 2018, was a blog post that I have shared with everybody under the sun, including today, called Make Your Schedule, Manage Your Schedule by a guy named Paul Graham, who was with Y Combinator. And it's an old blog post from 2009. You search for that term. I mentioned it in my productivity book for agency owners, right? And you're going to find it. It's a very old school blog website. But the concept is if you're a creator, and you're a writer, a coder, an artist, anything like that, you need long periods of unscheduled time that you can block out for your creative work, right? And the long lesson was you would not even start deep work like this, right? Like Cal Newport style deep work. And this is supposed to be flow state stuff. It's going to take you half an hour at least to get into it, right? To that flow state. Probably won't be instantaneous. And so if you're starting, stopping, you will not even start a project like this if there's the possibility that you could be interrupted. And if there is a meeting in the middle of your morning, well, to hell with it. You're not even going to try, right? Because if there's 2 hours broken up by a 1 hour or half an hour thing in the middle, it's gone. And so what you're talking about using this system, right? Which I guess you could tell us a little bit more about, is to keep you in that flow state, to automate, I imagine, certain things for you so that you're not starting and stopping and some of this stuff just happens automatically. So I guess let's explore that a little bit. What are some of the areas that this helps you out in?
Sure. Well, from a marketing perspective, instead of having to think, oh, geez, I've got a form on my website. What do I do when people enter it? When they put their information in? Okay, well, it's nice. Often we'll give them a free lead magnet. And then what? Well, let's build out a sequence, right? Let's build out a 5 or 7 step sequence. And in there, why don't we make them an offer? Why don't we put an offer inside of that? And then with that offer, maybe it's an offer to meet. So with that, we make them an offer to, hey, why don't you schedule a demo and have some conversation with me? Okay, from there, maybe it's an offer to buy my book. Maybe it's an offer to check out my course. Maybe it's an offer to, somebody else's course, something like that. Well, what if they click this? Then what? So we can automate that. We can make that happen. Now, that being said, let's be clear with that. If Jason replies to that, well, then a human being should reply to Jason. Right? This is key. This is key, right? You can't automate everything, but you can automate a lot of stuff. But sales process, for instance, sometimes I would forget to follow up, right? I had a first meeting on the 1st, and oh my gosh, it's the 24th. And then I look back at my calendar and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I didn't follow up with them. Well, instead, I put a reminder that says after every sales call, hit me with hey, schedule the next task. So put it in the system, schedule a task 3 days out for a follow-up email, phone call, or letter, whatever, right? So things like that, right? That's sales, that's marketing. Those are some of the things also around invoicing. So I like to get paid. I don't know, Jason, do you like money?
Absolutely. And I've done some videos about it lately on how important that is to small business cash flow. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So here's what happens, right? Invariably, someone does some work or they book out as a thought leader. Often our calendar is our inventory. So I want to work with Jason in December. Well, I got to pay Jason today. Otherwise, Jason's got to find work in December because Jason's got to eat. Okay. So Jason sends me a contract. It's in a DocuSign-like tool. I sign that contract, automatic, right? They sign it. I get that note. As soon as it's executed, then send a note that says, hey, Jason, you want to pay me? And then here's the part that a lot of thought leaders love. Every 3 days after that, it's like, hey, I got to pay Jason. Hey, I got to pay Jason. As opposed to Jason having to chase me down and say, hey, Phil, can you please pay me? And feeling needy. Right. I don't like to feel needy, but I do like to get paid. So things like that, right? That's the sort of stuff that we can automate.
Okay. That is very important because I've been talking in a lot of agency groups over the last few months about the importance. And folks, this is not scripted at all. Like we're just going where I'm interested and I see overlap here, right? And there are a lot of agency owners who would say, oh, I brought this person on board, but then they ghosted me and I didn't get paid. And I'm like, well, why didn't you take payment when you were on the call with them, right? Have your payment thing ready, right? Your payment processing page ready to go. And so to automate this, if you do feel uncomfortable, and I've had some downvotes on my videos and that and comments because people don't like that idea, right? They think it's being pushy. It's not. You need to eat. But if you do want to sort of delegate that uncomfortableness to a machine that doesn't care, right? This, I think, is a great solution for it, and it will keep you in good stead because money is the blood of business. And if you don't have any, you're going to die, right? So really, really important. Okay. So I'm going to look into this as well. Phil, if you want to get me a link later, I'll put it in the description and we'll make sure that you're doing that. So you put out a book back in June or July. We were going to talk about it and then you moved and, you know, life gets in the way, right? It's called $0 Consultancy.
This book?
There you go right there. Yep. And okay, I got to ask about the missing tooth. What happened? Were you playing hockey or?
You know, I was getting out of line with my wife. No, I'm just kidding. No, I got a veneer 30 years ago when I was in the Navy.
Oh, okay.
And it broke.
Ah, okay.
And then the temporary one broke.
Ah.
So this week I'm getting it replaced.
Okay, excellent. So we get this in between moment that is not normal.
and it's almost Halloween, so just call me Jack O'Lantern.
Right. We can get you in some sort of suitable costume.
That's it.
Look good. Yeah. So let's talk about $0 Consultancy. It's a quick read. I like that. I've got a bunch of short reads like that as well, which are punchy, powerful things. And so who is $0 Consultancy for?
So any thought leader should think about adding consulting to their repertoire, right? Add it to your tool belt. You mentioned money is the lifeblood of business. Well, guess what? Sometimes business means that you have to do things other than your primary thing. So sometimes that's coaching, sometimes that's consulting, speaking, training, other things. And I really believe that most thought leaders could be good consultants. They could ask good questions. They could offer some insight. They could, do some of those things and kind of sell back to the businesses maybe that they've spoken to before. Well, for those that don't have that as part of your revenue model, well, $0 consultancy is for you. It's how to start your consulting business for little or no money. Very simple. And to your point, Jason, it is meant to be a simple read. There's tools in there. There's some all about how to get your first client, how to stay motivated, how not to be burnt out, and how to get started. Simple stuff, not meant to be rocket science. It is meant to be a way to get off the dime and get started.
Right. Yeah. If the slope was too steep, people would not want to do it. Right. And so I open it up and I know a lot of this stuff. Right. And I've got it on Kindle here. And this is a quick diagram of many of the free or low cost things, tools like Calendly or Zoom or Gumroad, and how to use them that are at the front part of the book. And hey, a lot of people know about many of these things, but maybe they don't think of them all, right? This is almost like a checklist of, hey, have you thought about, oh yeah, right, and getting that in there right away. Then there's the question of, all right, I'm offering consulting. Well, that's a very broad term, right? What does it mean? And the next part of the book really gets you from brainstorming down to an offer. So tell us a little bit about that process.
Sure. Well, I really believe that you should be able to, again, consult in your zone of genius. What are you good at? Okay. I'm good at lots of things, Jason. That's awesome. That doesn't help me, right? So with that, what have people bought from you before? Can you offer a deeper dive? Can you offer some conversation? What have you done? Let's say you're in corporate America and you want to make some money in time for the holidays, right? Maybe you consult with another business in that industry as long as you don't have a non-compete, right? You can do that. So look at that, figure that out, right? Who could I possibly work for? Oh, geez, well, that's hard too. All right, well, how about referrals? Hey, Jason, I see that you know Sally over at XYZ company. Could you make an introduction? Okay, that's a way as well. And then your offer initially, not always, but initially, you might offer hours for dollars. Hours for dollars, right? You get a 3-hour package for $500 or $1,000 or whatever. And eventually, the hope, I would think, it would be that you'd be on retainer so that when they call you, you're available, and maybe you do some things synchronously as well. Okay. But it's basically people are renting your brain. I mean, instead of picking your brain, which is free and actually gives me a headache, instead rent your brain, right? Spend some time investing in that all important thing. How does this help my business? That's important, right? So what I like to think is, what are you good at? What have people said you're good at? What do you enjoy? Who do you enjoy doing it with? And then how much of an offer do you want to make? You don't have to do this full time. Again, this is for your first dollar of consulting, not for your $1 million, right? Alan Weiss wrote $1 Million Consulting. Right. Great book. Yeah. Great book. But how do you get started? Well, I haven't seen another book like this. And I'm not saying that to be braggadocious, right? You got Alan's book, right? Alan's book is fantastic.
And it's
nearby.
It's
so much. Yeah. But it's so much when you're starting out. So I decided basically this is first dollar consulting, right? And that offer, again, doesn't have to be complicated. Could just be, hey, buy 3 hours for $500. Okay. And that's enough.
So how do people get to know what you are offering, what you're good at? How do they know to come to you? Do you cover that in the book?
I haven't reread the book in a while, Jason. So I'm going to say this, right? Okay. How do people know how to come to you is you schedule some meetings with people who often hire consultants. Now, I will tell you, most organizations hire consultants, right? Most bigger companies do, especially when they're kind of in a pinch, maybe right after they got a round of funding. Right? Or they just open a big business because they need a little bit more help, right? You can be kind of a part-time player for them that you weren't otherwise able to do. Now, not doing the work, but consulting on the work. Hey, you already did this for XYZ company. Could you maybe do this for us? So just have some conversations with people, right? Again, referrals, you'll hear, man, if only we had someone that, we could have for just a couple hours a week that could help us out with this. It's almost like part-time work, but consulting is more, again, less doing and more thinking and sharing thoughts on that because you're an expert in what you're offering. Right.
And you've got a choice here on how much involvement you want to have with your clients. I know, our mutual friend, Jeremy Pope, when he talks to people, he's there, he's present for the time, but he doesn't want to worry about it afterwards. Right. He shows up, he gives the advice, and then he's off to the next thing. He's not hanging around waiting for you to implement or anything like that. You do have a building your business section, so that's good news. You talk about building a portfolio, asking for testimonials, getting introductions from friends and colleagues, offering referral incentives. That's always a good thing to have. Attending industry events, how to be active on social media, and use the service level that you're providing as a marketing tool as well. So there is a lot of good stuff in here, and there's a whole section following that on avoiding burnout. And I have to admit, I get burnt out. I just got through a period of it. It was about a month and a half where I was just too darn tired to do anything. Right. And I mean, I'm showing up and I'm doing work and I'm meeting with people, but as far as even doing this, right, I didn't really want to record anything, right? I was just tired of it and putting together episodes and things like that. So I had to take a bit of a break, which you recommend on how to do in the book, and then come back and go, yeah, I'm excited about talking to Phil. I'm excited about meeting these people that are coming up in my calendar, right? Again. And so, avoiding creating a job for yourself and that mentality of like, oh no, I've created a cage for myself here, right? You get to change the shape of this thing whenever you want. How much involvement do you want to have in your clients? Do you set aside 5 hours a month for this sort of thing, right? If you're going to be on retainer with clients, maybe you set aside so many hours a week and there are a specific set of hours, right? And if people show up and pay you for them, and if they use it, great. And if they don't, well, it's their choice, right? The sort of the rock concert was happening and they bought tickets, and if they didn't go, well, that's on them, right? But so this is, I like this book because it was a quick way of starting up a business at very little cost. And you're not telling them go into this niche and offer this specific thing, right? You're helping people uncover where they should go with it. And I noticed you got, from my perspective, a lot of reviews, and a lot of good reviews on Amazon. I find it incredibly difficult to get reviews. I get like one or two, and you get a lot more. And maybe you have a more structured promotion approach than I do or something. I have no idea, but I made sure that I got a review in there, which is the least I can do for these things, right? Again, because I know how hard it is. And most people have said, wow, this is really, really valuable, nearly everybody. So what are the triggers that somebody should pick up that book?
Yeah. So if you're thinking, my business, what I'm doing now is kind of boring, but I have a lot of smarts. I'd like to get involved in a different way with organizations. Pick up the book. See what you think. If you're like, oh my gosh, there's too many tools out there that cost too much money, pick up the book. Right. If you're feeling like, oh my gosh, what happens if I get burned out? Pick up the book. If you want to learn a little bit more about referrals, I don't go super in depth, but I get you started, right? This is a get you started book. This is not meant to be the ultimate Bible on consulting. Right. This is so if you're looking, oh, referrals, how do I do that? Well, pick up the book. And the first chapter, just get started. If you want some encouragement to get started, pick up the book. It's 99 cents, I believe, on the Kindle right now. It's $19.99 for a hard copy. For 99 cents, if you don't get at least one good idea, exactly, something you didn't know, right? Like message me, I'll send you $1. Right. You're just no problem. Looking at that point. Yeah. I mean,
I like just having all those apps in one place, right? For a quick reference. Do I know about all of them? Sure. But I forget about them. I don't use Canva, for example, a lot. I'm aware it exists, but I would probably hire someone to do, right? Graphic design or something. But it's there, and you've got them, everything that somebody could need all in one little package there. So I find that very handy. So who's Phil looking to connect with?
Yeah, probably thought leaders,
Mhm.
working with speaker flow, any thought leaders that are looking for a more systematized approach to their business.
Yeah.
Those are good people for me to talk to. Folks who've written books, folks who want to write
Mm.
books, folks who have something interesting to say. Jason, like you, man, I love my podcast. I love to talk to smart people. And so folks that like that, I come my way as well. I'd love to talk to you. I'm not I don't believe that I'm a pushy salesperson. I've never been told that.
Yeah.
I'm a very relational seller. So I'm consultative.
Mhm.
So if there's a need that you have, certainly I'll make you an offer. But if there's not, well, I'll help you. Right. So so reach out to me anytime, real easy, Phil@speakerflow.com. Real
Great,
simple.
great.
Just send
Yeah.
me an email.
Folks, Phil and I are on the same wavelength about so many things in our styles and things like that, how we approach people. And so, yeah, I have every recommendation that I could possibly give you. Phil is one of the few people who understand sales process as well as I think I do. And I will go to Phil for advice. So that should tell you something right there, right? He's one of the few people who I will listen to because I know he's right. And I know he comes from the school of experience as well as intelligence. So very good. What are you seeing in the field of selling as far as like methodologies? I've been seeing like following Nick Louisi on LinkedIn, for example, who I work with quite a bit too. He's sharing a lot of these automation style processes, and they seem to be like 20-something-year-old younger people, right? And they're using technology and they're reaching a lot of people in that. How effective, or what are you seeing that's maybe not just cool and exciting, but actually working these days?
Well, the big thing that's working is the thing that always works, first of all, and that is absolutely referral business, right?
Mm-hmm.
So find a referral, name drop, introduction, still very important. Relevancy still sells.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not relevant, that's, nobody's talking to you. That being said, along with that, because we're seeing a lot of topsy-turviness in the market, you have to solve a problem, and it has to be a big enough pain for it to solve and be needing to be solved now. That's the hard part, right? Because we see so much indecision. People only buy things that they need to buy now. They're not vision casting. Most organizations are not vision casting 3-5 years in the future right now with money, right? They are thinking about it, but that's not where they're going with their money right now. So spend some time. What's important right now to your industry, to your customer, to your customer's customers. If you have those, that works. As far as automation goes, automate until you get a person if you need to, right? I mean, you don't need to, be shorter. Shorter is better. I actually like Justin Michael. Justin's one of the people that I go to, look to him.
Yeah.
He does a lot of tech sales, but a lot of those things about just really being persistent, I really like that. I know that persistency, resiliency, those are things that we need to be more of as salespeople.
Yeah.
And then the last thing I would tell you is mindset wise, understand that confidence sells. So if you're not feeling confident as a seller, get a coach, get someone who can help you to get confident. Because if you're not confident, you're not going to sell.
Yeah.
Sales is a confidence game. I sell my confidence and I transfer it to you so that you buy. That's it. Now, that means that I have to know your problem. I have to know your industry. I have to know things. That's the only thing that makes me confident. Maybe you're different. Maybe you can just BS people. I cannot.
Mhm.
So I encourage you, being earnest in your conversations and doing your best to help is never going to go out of style.
Mhm. Simplicity. I like that word relevance, though. I identified it a long time ago as superior to know, like, trust. Right? It's relevancy gets to the heart of the matter faster. It makes people want to talk to you. It makes people stay on the 2 hour webinar about gold or something like that, right? And precious metals, right? Because it's relevant, and so they suddenly see, the speaker as an authority on the topic. And if you've got something different, they'll listen. So that's really important. And I like the relationship stuff, of course. I'm a relationship guy. And relationships, that approach, I mean, I remember back in 2004 or 5 talking to my boss's boss, who was the director of credit. I was a credit manager at a big electrical wholesaler collecting $2 million a month. And he told me these elements come and go out of style, right? And at that time, relationships had come back in. And then they went away again, and everyone was just hardcore closing for a while, right? And then relationship came back. So if you are a relationship person and it feels like everybody else is going for the jugular, right? Well, it'll come back around, right? Don't think that you're not providing value or doing it the right way, right? You are going to become relevant, and the stick-to-itiveness. I don't know how many flashes in the pan, especially in the sales training world, who have come and gone, right? They make a splash in a marketplace that I'm in, and people are interested in them, and they last like 4 weeks or less, right? And then they just fade away. But the relationship people, guess what? Like me, they're in there, year out. 12 years later, they're still there. And when somebody's ready to buy, that's a pretty big factor. If they recognize you, right? Oh, that person's been there. As long as you're not stale to them. But if they never bought from you, for example, and now finally they're ready, you've got a good chance, I think. So yeah. So Phil, there's a lot of people like us out there, I think. I believe, who are relatively smart people. We've got experience, we've got skills, we want to grow a business. We have a lot of these elements of authority, like books and, TV show appearances, sizzle reels, stuff like that. What do you recommend is the next step that folks like us can do? Is it to get up to the next level, right? The next plateau? Is it like coaching? Is it automating as much as you can with these tools? Is it something else?
Wow, that's a really good question. I haven't thought about that.
Mhm.
I would say, to level up, do something that's harder than anything else you've ever done.
Huh.
So that could be, if you're resisting video, do video. Like, get good at it. If you're resisting writing a book, write a book. Get good at it. Hire a coach, right? Hire someone to help you with this. If you're resisting a podcast,
Mhm.
do a podcast. If you're resisting hiring a coach,
Mhm.
hire a coach. Like, you need to do something that you've never done to get somewhere that you've never gone before. So I don't really know what that is for everybody. My next thing, I'm actually working on a Cialdini certification for influence. I am typically not one who takes a lot of online classes and things like that,
Mhm.
simply because I like the hour-long, 2-hour-long, and I'm done. Well, this is a longer course, so I'm working on that. So do something you haven't done and see what happens. I think that's the only way that you level up. Now, that being said, it's going to hurt, right? It's like working out. Oh my gosh, brand new muscle hurts a lot when you get started because it's sore and it's never been worked out.
Yeah.
Going to be hard.
Okay.
It should be worth it.
Should. So immediately, as soon as you, and again, folks, this is just two guys talking, right? We haven't looked at questions beforehand. I'm just coming up with the stuff, and so is Phil, right? And it's based on our foundational beliefs, clearly, on what's important here. We know, at least I think we do, from this sort of field of study of excellence, getting better at a weakness is a bad idea, right? It's better to delegate, get rid of that, and work on your strengths, right? And get better at that. So how do you know when you're picking one of these I've never done it before, way out of my comfort zone things, whether I'm just not good at it or not, or it's I've never done it before, and so I like cold calling, right? People will say all the time, I'm terrible at cold calling, or I hate it. And I know from discernment and teaching people for a decade plus, no, you never had any skill, you were never given any technique, and you didn't stick with it for 2 weeks, right? So that, doing it an hour a day or something like that, so that you could get good at it. So how I don't like toe testers either. I don't like it in myself. I don't do it. I jump in all the way when I'm doing something, right? Is there a way of knowing beforehand, or I don't know, not
boy, that's okay. I don't know, man. I don't know. I guess for me, I have to say that I gave it an honest try.
Okay.
Did I try hard enough to actually say that this is something I'm not good at? So for instance, I cannot say that I am bad at golf because I've golfed 3 times. No, I'm just being honest. Right? Don't know.
Right.
Don't know. Now, I can say that I am not good at baseball anymore because I'm older. My body's not in the same shape that it was. I've tried. I played with my kid. I mean, we can play, but I'm not going to play at the high level I once did. So that being said, right, how do I know? Well, I've tried. I've played. I've given it my all. Only you can know if you've given it your all. Only you can know, is this something that I'm not good at, or is it just something that I don't like to do that makes me a little uncomfortable? That's the only way to know that I've found, Jason. Have you found something else?
No, just limiting beliefs and judgment prior to actually trying the thing out. So like zip lining, I feel I would not enjoy that, but I've never gone on one, right? So I can't tell you. I'm actually willing to try it, but I'm also very wary. But, I'm not going to go out of my way to do it. I don't think either of us are at an age where being the piano player as a football player, right, going back and forth, our knees are probably shot.
Right? But as it relates to business, though, right, as it relates to business, for instance, I'm never going to be a graphic designer. I can use Canva. I can take my podcast template and I can plop in a couple elements because I had a designer develop the initial one. But beyond that, like, I'm not great at design. I don't even have an eye for design. I am not suggesting that. But I am suggesting mixing the format up. I mean, honestly, if you can do video, you can do audio. If you can do audio, you can do text. If you can do text, you can do shorts. If you can do shorts, you can do longs, right? So if we take some time there to kind of play around with that, do something that's hard and just try it. But try it as hard as you can for as long as you can and see, to your point, Jason, if it's something you hate, if something that's uncomfortable, or just something that you're never going to be good at.
Okay. Like there's a book that I've been trying to work on for 2 years, right? A big real book on geopolitics and negotiation. For the most part, like I've done all my research and everything like that. And I've recently ran it through Google Bard, which was better than any of the other AI things, by the way. And it was like, yes, this is a great idea. I want to read it when it's done. Here are some recommendations. You're writing at a doctoral level, which is for smart people, right? In the defense field. But I have to admit, a lot of my time has been taken up with relationships, right? I've chosen to do that instead. But then I beat myself up for not having worked on it enough, and again, it's a deep work thing. It is not something I can just chip away at an hour at a time. I need 3 hours at least, right, to focus on this thing. And if you look at my schedule, it probably looks like yours, right? There's not a whole lot of holes in there, right? And then on weekends, I'm expected to be somewhere else. So,
Yep, that's right.
So how would you recommend fitting something like that in?
Block your calendar.
Yeah.
You don't fit that in, Jason. You block it. You schedule
Okay.
for it. You block, you put a 3-hour block, a 4-hour
Okay.
block on your calendar.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a Saturday morning. Maybe it's a Sunday afternoon. Maybe instead of watching the football game one week, maybe you do that.
Yeah. Which
Maybe
I don't, but yeah.
no, right.
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
no.
yeah.
Right. Whatever.
But, okay. But
right?
something's
Where do
going
you
to have
your
to be
block?
given up here.
Something's
Okay.
got to give.
Okay. If I want
If
that.
you really, or you got to give and say, you know what, it really isn't that important to me. So something's got to give.
Yeah. It's an insightful idea, and it would be a nice authority piece, and you know, people would be interested in it, right? I've already got some people who have agreed to read it, draft of it when it's ready. Okay, but that's a serious thing that I've just been sitting on, and yeah, so it's somehow I have to be brutal with myself if I want that done in that area. Okay, and stop letting it go and bumping it, you know, it's until whenever. Okay, and I think Paul Rolkins would like that a lot. That's part of the precious few things, right? Like he's always talking about the Michelangelo principle, strategic quitting, right? Getting rid of things that, and I've often wondered over the last 2 years, is this something I should strategically quit? But it stays on the list. It stays on the list of, no, this would really be important here. And it might help me level up. And I think there is some fear there as well. Like, what if I write the thing and nobody cares? Right? But then at least I'll know I gave it a chance, right? And this is supposed to be published by a real publishing house, you know, not self-published. So,
well, one of the things then, if you find if you submit a book proposal and you get it accepted, they're going to give you a real deadline. That's the other thing. Sometimes we need a real deadline, not just our own deadline, in order to finish things. So if that's the case, right, perhaps you find that traditional publisher, Jason, that's going to give you 10 or 50 or $100,000 advance, so you can carve out that time. That's the other thing, is because sometimes we don't have a 4-hour block because we have to work, because we got to, make money. And I get that, right? I mean, we circle back to the beginning. Yeah. Money is the lifeblood of a small business. No doubt about it. So how do we get that? Well, we could sell our idea to a traditional publisher, who then writes us a check that gives us the time and the space we need to sit down and spend that 4, 8, 12-hour period of time. Okay.
And it's going to be repeated too. I mean, it's not, I was just out with Jeremy Pope doing we had a walk in, because the season's just changed this weekend, right? And it was like one day before it wasn't quite there, and then now all the reds and yellows are in. And so we're like, okay. And I thought, well, I could be writing, but on the other hand, I could be writing in November and December when it's dismal and dark and raining and the leaves have all fallen from the trees. So I am expecting to have that time, but I've got to block it out, as you say. So this has really been interesting, because folks, I mean, I'm not lazy. I accomplish a lot of things. I have a book on productivity. I know how to do it. I talk about blocking out calendars, and Phil will be the first person to tell me, like I'm not telling you something you don't already know, but there are things that I need to hear, right? And in this case, I keep bumping the thing instead of putting it into the calendar and saying, hey, Monday mornings or whatever, from 9 to noon, this is what I'm doing. And to heck with everything else. But I got a sales huddle in there for a client at 9:30, you see? And Tuesdays are no good because I got 2 other sales huddles, and Thursday, same, and it really starts. So I got to strategically pick that spot in the calendar and where it's going. And I do like my weekends for downtime and getting away and relationships and stuff like that. So really, really important. Well, Phil, tell us, I guess, just to finish up here, what's the most exciting thing going on in your life lately? What are you hoping, looking forward to as we enter into the last quarter of the year, and maybe looking forward into 2024?
So, like you, I like my weekends with my kids.
Mhm.
This is the first year I'll see winter in 8 or 9 years.
Sure.
So I'm really looking forward to that and spending
Mm-hmm.
time with them in the winter. I'm going to see my mom and see my family because now I'm only 6 hours away, whereas before I was literally a 5 hour plane ride away.
Yeah.
So this is really nice. I'm really looking forward to that. And business wise, speaker flow is fun, man. I love to talk to smart people. And that's that's who we're doing business with, is thought leaders. So for me, it's like talking to you all day, Jason.
Right.
I love it, man. It's the most fun I get to have. So I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of dragons we get to slay and crush lots of good stuff for people so that they can, stay in that flow state, man. It's so important. If we can free up more time to do what we love, you can make a bigger impact in the world.
Yeah. Or
So,
even just think
Yeah.
rather than do, because the episode that came out this week with Paul Rolkins, I was asking, what do you do with these big companies? And he says, yeah, how much time to these executives do you have time to think? And they're like, huh? Think? Like in the shower or in the car ride here or something like that, right? So yeah, so whatever Phil can help you recover and put into place again, I think it's very cool. So again, yeah, shoot me over a link and I'll dump it into the description. And anybody who's interested can go down there and look for it. Well, Phil, thank you very much for doing this. We talked about $0 Consultancy, your book on Amazon and Kindle. We talked about speaker flow. We talked about our hopes and dreams, roadblocks that I've had, and I really enjoyed it. Thanks for doing this.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Jason.